The Champions League knockout phases, and Arsenal travel to Germany to face Bayer Leverkusen in the first leg of the round of 16. Hi, I'm Philippa Monique. Welcome to my channel. Let's preview Bayer Leverkusen versus Arsenal. Two invincible teams of the 21st century. Crazy, right? Like, I know it's ages ago since Arsenal became the Invincibles under Arsene Wenger in the early 2000s. And it was only a couple of seasons ago under Xabi Alonso where Bayer Leverkusen became the unbeaten champions of the Bundesliga. Now, here they are in 2026 to face each other in the Champions League. Their journeys to the round of 16, however, have been completely different. Arsenal, as we know, have been pretty much perfect in the Champions League this season. In the new league format, 36 teams, they won 8 out of 8 games and had the best offensive record and defensive record in the Champions League format with 4 goals conceded. Pretty much perfect. Bayer Leverkusen, on the other hand, had to come through in the playoffs. They had a 2-leg playoff against Olympiacos and came out victorious over the 2 fixtures. Now, I'm sure Mikel Arteta and his team will be looking to continue their run of form, not only in the Champions League, but of course in all competitions. In the last 5 games, they've had 1 draw and 4 wins. And just over the weekend, they had a difficult but successful win over Mansfield Town in the FA Cup, and they're now through to the quarterfinals. So Mikel is having a pretty decent season. They're top of the Premier League table. They're now in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Then around the 16th of the Champions League, and of course they have their first final booked at Wembley Stadium on March 22nd against Manchester City. Now back to this game. It'll be interesting to see how Arsenal line up for this fixture. As we know, there was some heavy rotation for the FA Cup fixture over the weekend. And some players were missing, not due to injury, some were of course, but some of the big hitters were missing just because they need that rest. It is a full-packed calendar of fixtures. So as you know, David Raya, Declan Rice, Martin Zubimendi, Gabriel, to name a few, were resting. But of course, there's still speculation on whether some players will be back available. We know William Saliba, our captain, Martin Odegaard, of course, are out with some injuries, and I don't think they'll be back in time for this game. And even more worrying, during that FA Cup fixture, Trossard came off quite early, and Calafiori seemed to have a niggle there. So it'll be interesting to see what squad will be available and who will be lining up for this big fixture. Now, it's always good to get a strong result in the first leg, and it's an away game. I know away points don't matter anymore. It's not even a thing anymore, but it's always important to just start strong. And as I said, Arsenal have been dominant in the Champions League this season, and I've seen in the media, Arsenal fans, the Arsenal content creators are getting ahead of themselves because they've seen the road to Budapest, and that is the journey, the possible journey to the final. The way the Champions League has been drawn, Arsenal avoid playing Manchester City, Real Madrid, PSG, Liverpool before the final. Now, as you can imagine, fans are getting carried away. Are you one of them? Let me know in the comments below, and saying this could be the year. There is a possibility here that Arsenal can be successful on more fronts than one. How are you feeling about this? I don't like to get ahead of myself about anything. I could have something so small planned and I don't let anyone know because I just want it to be done before I make any type of announcement. But I've seen over social media, there's a lot of Arsenal content coming out, and I'm seeing lots of fans saying, what are you wearing to the parade? And they're seeing, like I said, the Champions League draw on the fixtures, and they're like, well, we can go through this route, but you've got to get past Bayer Leverkusen first. Now, no game is an easy feat. As I mentioned, that Mansfield Town game over the weekend, I believe a lot of fans and neutral fans as well expected Arsenal to win that game, but not in the fashion that they did. Nobody expected Mansfield to come out and put up such a good performance. Now, that's because maybe you don't watch Mansfield Town, maybe you watch Arsenal, expected more of them. But how many of you watch Bayer Leverkusen? How many of you watch the Bundesliga? I'm not sure who my audience is at the moment. So how many of you do watch? They haven't had the best form. They're not the team that won, that were invincible a couple of seasons ago. I mean, there's no more Xabi Alonso. There's no more Florian Wirtz. So, Florian Wirtz, let's not butcher people's names here. There's no more Granit Xhaka. There's no more Jeremy Frink. The team has changed. The manager has changed. And the form has changed. But form goes out of the window when it's cup competition games, as we all know. So what are your thoughts on this? Before we get into predictions, let's get into possible starting lineups. Actually, before we get into starting lineups, let's Google some quick facts about Bayer Leverkusen and their recent form, because I've given you some information on Arsenal, but I haven't said anything about Bayer Leverkusen. So in their last 5 games across all competitions, they've won 1, drawn 3, and lost 1. In the Champions League, I've mentioned their form. They came through the playoff phase. But in the Champions League, they won 3, drew 2, and lost 1 in the last 6 games. They have a 6-match unbeaten streak at their home ground, conceding just 1 goal in 540 minutes of football. That's their home record in the last 6 games. That's not a bad record. Hey Google, tell me about Bayer Leverkusen's chances against Arsenal in the Champions League and what is their recent form?
Arsenal are heavy favourites heading into the Champions League round of 16 first leg on March 11th, 2026. While Leverkusen has the home advantage at the Bay Arena, their recent form is inconsistent compared to Arsenal's dominant, record-breaking season. Recent form, Bayer Leverkusen, LDDWD, the works elf, have struggled for consistency under Kasper Hjulmand, winning only 1 of their last 5 matches. Their most recent outing was a high-scoring 3-3 draw against Freiburg.
Okay.
Arsenal.
Pretty much what I just said there. So yeah, it's all well and good saying that, you know, their form's not the greatest. Arsenal's form is. We don't know what's going to happen today, but I'm fairly confident that Arsenal should come away with a win. They're enjoying their Champions League football and they can actually play there. We see 2 different styles: Premier League Arsenal and Champions League Arsenal. It's like watching 2 different teams. So it'll be interesting and exciting to see that style of play in action under Mikel Arteta at the Bay Arena. Let's get into predicted starting 11s. Now, between the sticks, of course, none other than David Raya. I predict the lineup at the back will probably be Hincapié on the left, who I dare mention is, of course, on loan from Bayer Leverkusen, but he's actually eligible to play against his home team in this fixture, in this Champions League, which is interesting because you never really get a lonely player that can play against their parent club. But in this situation, for whatever reason, he is allowed to do so. So yeah, Hincapié left back, interesting. Despite being on loan from Bayer Leverkusen, Hincapié is eligible to play against his parent club. While Premier League rules typically block such appearances, UEFA regulations differ significantly for European competitions, ensuring players are not barred from competing against the teams that technically own their contract. So hooray for Arsenal, because that is a huge relief, because we know that Calafiori is a doubt for the match. Miles Lewis-Skelly has not been in Arteta's favour for whatever reason. So that leaves Hincapié to play in that left-back role. Yeah, I'm going Raya, Hincapié, Gabriel. I have no idea how fit. I haven't, at that time of recording, I haven't seen any press conferences or had any confirmation whether Saliba will be fit and available. So I'm assuming it will be Mosquera and Gabriel, the centre-back pairing, and right-back Yuri Timber. The midfield that I'll predict would be Zubimendi, Declan Rice, and Eberechi Eze. Hopefully he can score another wonderful strike like he did over the weekend. And then the front 3 will be, I almost said Trossard. Well, Saka, Gyökeres, and Martinelli. That I assume will be the starting 11. What do you think Mikel Arteta will go with? Let me know your starting lineup predictions in the comments. And I'm going to go with, I'm thinking to go with a clean sheet, but I'm not too sure these days with the recent form. So I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. I wish and hope for a bigger scoreline, but I believe it will be 2-1 to Arsenal. Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. And if you're new here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay up to date with my match previews, match day footage, vlogs, all that content that is still to come on the channel. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.